Welcome friends. Today I am going to discuss about the login registration and authentication using JWT. In previous tutorial I have already covered regarding the JWT from Angular as well as Spring Boot part, and I have used in-memory H2 database, and I have shown here that how Swagger can be implemented in the authentication. So here earlier I have shown only the one URL, that is authenticate. Now I am going to show that multiple URL to allow the list. Like earlier I have used like only the authenticate, but now I need multiple URL to allow it. Okay, so here I have allowed authenticate, I have allowed registered, and for the Swagger I have to add all that stuff. It's not only that's for Swagger I have to use that Swagger UI HTML, right? There internally it is invoking Swagger resource everything. So after that only you are able to get the Swagger. Okay, and regarding the I what extra thing I have added here is the registration part. So let me close that and start it again. For the login, you know, for login I have already mentioned here that I have added some information, right? Predefined database, that 4 object will be there. Okay, but if any user from here he or she need to add more or register himself or herself, in that case registration is required. Okay, so today I'm going to cover for the registration part. So here first we get that login part. Okay, and if I need to register, okay, so I am going to register for Basant. Okay, password say B. So after registration, it's registration successfully. Okay, now coming back to the login section, and I can log in with the registered. Okay, and check the find user. You see that I have login, I have added user Basant. Now I'm going to show it how it has been done. First of all, in Angular we have the model user registration and the user. Okay, so both the case name everything should be same except user have generated ID. Okay, here we have that ID, it's automatically generated. So here I have added like Basant is the 6. If you registered second one, say Martin, you will find that it will be 7. Okay, let me so I have login with Martin. Find user, you see that is the ID is 7. It's a auto generated, it's a generated, it's a sequentially that value will be generated. And from Angular side we have this constructor. So when we are passing value, we are passing value name, password, email, and we are not sending ID itself. Now let me show it. And for the login, you know that AuthRequest from the Spring Boot only, because during login we are passing that username password separately. We don't have to bother about that. I have already covered that multiple URL to allow. Earlier I have used only the uh, authenticate, and now I am using multiple thing. Okay, so authenticate, register, Rabi, and this is the for the Swagger. Okay, and what I see from the Angular itself, so this is the value. I can check the same thing directly hitting the URL. Okay, so you know all users is not part of it. Okay, so if I'm trying to access it, since it's not authenticate, I will get 403. Okay, forbidden. But I have one users in the welcome controller. Here I am just for temporary purpose to show. Okay, so this is already added in the list. Okay, white list. And here I'm going to check it here. You will see the list of the user what you have added from the Angular. You can check it from the Swagger itself. Okay, so Swagger is very handy and useful. So every users is visible here. Now the next question is the registration workflow, right? And for the link, let me go to the registration. Okay, so this is a simple name, password, email, right? Name, password, email. Now how that workflow, that means from Angular, this is from the Angular side, and our primary objective is to hit this URL, right? Register, and it's successfully registered and saving into the H2 database, and it's already whitelisted in the configuration file. Okay, and this name, password, email, what I have to do, I have to go to the registration. Okay, so this is the name, password, email I have given, and the user registration, this is the model, it's the two-way binding. So in using that one, I am capturing the data. Okay, when register now, okay, and it will coming to the registration component, and what it will going to do, user registration. Okay, user registration, that object, it's getting updated in the registration component.html, user registration.name, password, email. And what I'm going to do, this user registration, that user registration, okay, so I'm going to pass that user registration, because this component is bind with the HTML, and I'm going to pass in the service do registration, user registration. So I'm passing this user registration, and from here what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the REST service exposed in the Spring Boot, and here you see that it's text, right? So it's successfully added, right? When you are adding someone, and it will be added successfully. So what I'm going to do, response type text as JSON, it's a post call, and finally I got the result. Okay, and let me do it again. So I'm adding, so here you see successfully registered with the name Hilton, and you can go back to the login. Okay, and now I'm going to show the workflow again, revisit it. So from here, submit query, register now, and this service here, and as I have already told that user registration, name, password, email, and model for the Java side is the ID is extra, it's auto generated, you don't have to pass the ID. And from the Angular side, component itself calling the service, from service calling the finally the function, register function, it's hitting that. Okay, and say here I have added Hilton. Okay, and going back there, and I can register it, and you will check that it's also added. And the same thing you can check from here in the Swagger itself. Let me check it again. Number 8 should be present here. So number 8 also present here. Okay, now allow Swagger in the SpringBoot security. I have already discussed that once we have added this multiple URL, then only Swagger visible. Okay, and let me revisit the controller. Here I purposefully Rabi, this is a temporary, I will remove it later. And this one also, right, this one is not being whitelisted. So if you try it here, you will find in Swagger it will show everything, but it will, the URL, the Swagger URL is whitelisted, but this URL is not whitelisted, right? This one, okay, if you try it out, then you will get 403 forbidden error. Okay, so because this is not part of it, all users is are not part of it. So if you try it all users and this slash, you will get forbidden error. Other everything registered Ruby, and I have already covered for the authenticate part. Okay, so hope you are now be able to log in and register and using your own user ID. Otherwise, in previous tutorial what I have covered, right, you have to rely on the set of user, right, Rabi Raddu. So whatever, it's a static one. Now onwards you don't have to rely on that static one, you can add more and you can use your own customized login ID and password. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.